as far as I can go because this is actually Eric's food plot right here, as you can tell by the Border Patrol mix. And if you guys would like a review on food plot mixes, just post it in the comments and I'll see what we can do. It honestly looks like it's coming up pretty good though. Yep, guess who gets to fix that? Probably me again. Although it doesn't look too bad, really. Alright, so this is the backpack Eric bought for it. The Ravin backpack, I guess. It didn't come with it, but he bought it separate. It's pretty handy. It's a nice way to store your stuff and carry it at the same time. It's still pretty bulky. Personally, for me, I'd rather just have a regular over-the-shoulder sling. I mean, this crossbow is so light. The problem I had with the mission crossbow is that when I carried it, it always knocked me in the back of the legs because it was just so big. So I'm not excited about having to go through all this stuff to get to the blind, guys. I do have some deer flies buzzing around, but hopefully I'm not going to get bit. But if I end up screaming, then you'll know I got bit by a deer fly. Okay, so I went through and cleaned it all up for Eric, so it looks nice. That you can tell from up here. And can we go over a moment safety and tree stands? I know everyone always says, oh, you need, you know, safety harness, safety harness. If you're the type to fall asleep in your tree stand, definitely use a safety harness and clip it into that tree. I don't care how macho you think you are. But even more so than that, if your tree stand has been up for over a year, double check your ratchet straps because ratchet straps snap when they get old. And these have been on this tree for 3, maybe 4 years, at least 3. So they're probably due to be changed, and I will have to remind Eric on that one. So let's get up to the top and see what this guy can do. I will say it's a little awkward to hold without sling, and I really don't want to carry the backpack up here, so this is how we're gonna do it. Alright, so I'm gonna have to make this quick because I am a mom and I live on a farm that I run, but I decided to sneak this out of the house real quick while Eric was gone and just do my own little test, legit test. Now Eric doesn't like me coming back into the tree stands because he's afraid it's going to scare the deer away. So I have to kind of be discreet about this sort of stuff. So I just figured this is a little bit more legit of a review than just putting it in a lead sled. I mean, you can put it in a lead sled and show how consistently it shoots, but for me, when I look at a review, I want to see like real life shooting from a tree stand at a target where a deer would be. So I'll show you the target, I'll show you my stand, and you can judge for yourself what you think of it. And again, this is a Ravin R15 2017, brand new. And let's take a quick look at our target out there. It's set right out at 50 yards. And actually most of the shots out here, I'll show you in just a minute, are no more than 50 yards. Some will be about 75 yards, but pretty much 50 yards is where we're going to be shooting here. And you can see that I've got the deer side facing out because I'm shooting deer, not target practicing. I have yet to find my deer running around with little crosshairs on their shoulders. And you can see this whole area here is a food plot, which is slowly growing in. Okay, first thing I'm noticing in the stand is that this quiver is in the way. If I'm resting it right here, I could possibly snap the arrows, and we definitely don't want to do that. Alright, so holding it in my hand, it's not there quite so bad. Flip the scopes up. And honestly, I'm gonna scope this out quick first and then set it up. Just lock it in, and we're at 50. Perfect. All right, so this quiver might be okay depending on how you're holding it. Now, if you're the type of person that always has issues hitting the deer in the spot you want to hit it, especially with a crossbow, try practicing on a tree or a small doe that you don't want to shoot. Just take a deep breath, relax, and just try to focus on keeping the crosshair steady. That's how you don't miss. Right now there's just a faint breeze, so that shouldn't have any effect on my shooting. So let's go ahead and crank this bad boy up. See if I can get this guy off. So the crank is attached at the top up here. Right up here, and it's got like a weird little button to push in. Having a hard time finding a good spot to grab. This is a tough place to put it because it's just hard to get it off, for me. I mean, some people probably won't have that issue, and if you're doing it a lot, then you're probably not going to have that issue. So let's go ahead and stick this on. All right. I can feel that magnetism already locking in on it. So, remember my original complaint in the lead sled was, how are you going to do this in a tree stand? Let's give it a whirl. So, I'm going to balance it against my chest and find my button right here. So, pushing the button in and cranking. There it goes. And then I'm going to pull this off. Pull that off. Slide this forward. Remember, 2 clicks. Click, click. Okay. Letting go of the button, both hands off. Can hear that clicking. Uh-oh. What do we see? You cannot crank this with the quiver attached. Look at that. So right there, that's a fault for me. Why do I want to have to take this thing off? And remember what I said about the lens covers being attached? Right now I'm busy hitting on it. So I'm going to make sure to close those so I don't snap them off. I'm the type of person that both loses them and breaks them off. We're going to have to take this off because it won't crank with this on. And Eric had all the arrows out last time, so this is why we do an in-stand review. Hopefully this thing's not going to come snapping back at me. Okay, I got that out. That could be a little bit easier. So, number 1, pull your quiver out. It sucks, but you don't have a choice. Now you can crank it. So, let's try cranking it again. Cranking it. And remember what I said, you can hear the click, 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 unless you push the button in down here. And then once you push that button in, you can't hear it. I'm going to let go of the button again because I don't want this thing socking me in the face. For me personally, I better hit the deer on my first shot. Because if I can't hit it on the first shot, I mean, unless I sneeze in the middle of shooting and that throws my shot off. But realistically, I better get practicing if I need more than 1 shot. Okay. Feel how it's done? Okay, so we're going to pull this off. Now this is kind of one reason why I prefer a compound bow, because there is so much force coming off from these bows, you could probably take your arm off. So if you're not being smart about it, you could end up with some real trouble. And I just don't know how trustworthy these systems are. I'd rather be the one holding the string and then blaming myself if it lets go. All right, so we're gonna put the arrow in here. Remember to keep our hands up here, which is hard to do. It's just very awkward. I would still rather use a compound bow. Okay, that's locked in. All right, overall, I mean, look how small this thing is. If you're gonna be shooting a crossbow, this is probably the one to have. I mean, once you get over all the little quirks and ticks that it has as far as being able to use it, this is cocked. Look at this. This is pretty good. That is tiny. I can shoot this out any window without having to worry about hitting something. And it's not too heavy. Of course, I do have some good solid muscles, but overall it feels good. So we've got our arrow locked in. Oh, fudge. And I just realized that I forgot to set up the GoPro camera down on the target. So at least you got the GoPro on the other one. This one, you're not going to get the benefit of having the GoPro out there. And I don't even know what I did with it. It's probably sitting in the house still. But I'll take this camera down there and you can still see my groupings, however good or bad they are. So, are you ready? I'm going to scope this out again, make sure it's lined up on 50 before I take the safety off. All right. Safety's on both sides, which is nice. And again, I like the fact that the safety is a little tiny little push slide button, because I've had safeties that, you know, you could accidentally knock and the safety would come off. I'm already feeling that I don't like balancing this on my wrist. All right, there we go. You ready? So I'm going to try and shoot for the heart. Wow. That's crazy. That almost smelled like gunpowder. Ah, man. I can't tell where it hit, but it almost looks like it might be low. I'm hoping it's not low, but we'll do another one. We're going to do all 3 arrows, and then we'll go down and check out my grouping. Because you can't say I'm a good shot if I can shoot 3 good shots from a lead sled. Even though I don't know how good Eric's were. I think he said mine were better, but I don't consider bragging rights on a lead sled. I consider them on target. The old crossbow, the Mission, we just had the loop string with the hooks on it. So you just loop it around and pull it straight back and you're done. Although there were plenty of times that I forgot where I put the rope pull strings, and I took a while to find them because sometimes they fell out of my pocket and I drop them in the dark, or I'd leave them at home, or sometimes I think one time I left it in a tree stand. Yeah, not fun. But hey, Eric can't complain because I got the biggest deer, so. All right, that's cranked. Next arrow. Slide this guy in. Now, I'm obviously sticking my fingers in the danger zone, but it's really hard to get around that. Really hard. Because the arrow, it's like literally right here. It's just sticking just a little tiny nub out the back. All right, put our sights back up. Now, these sights are illuminated. I don't know how well the scope magnifies lights. The scope that I actually got my deer on magnified the light amazingly, better than the Mission. And it was just a cheap little youth crossbow. But that's how I ended up getting my deer. I literally could not see that buck on the ground. All I could see was a brown blob. And just out of curiosity, I looked at him through the scope and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's almost as bright as day through the scope. So I shot him because then I knew what he was. And that deer we had actually been tracking all season long. And I was hoping that day that he would come out. And he did. And he's got a twin brother still kicking around out there. We've only got 1 deer to get this year. So it's either going to be me or Eric. All right. Arrow loaded. Safety off. Let's go back to our sights here. Get our 50 on. Oh yeah, definitely a little bit low. Oh, wow. Ooh, that one looked like it was more on. I definitely have some kick. I mean, this thing shoots back. I could feel it slide. I feel it slide on this bar when it's firing off. Honestly, I don't know that you would want to have a kid younger than 13 using this, because it does have a lot of kick for a crossbow. I mean, this thing is shooting 425 feet per second. That's some serious power. And you look at this thing and you don't think it's going to be doing that, but it does. All right, there we go. Okay, last shot. So one more thing to point out that I'm going to complain about is the crank is a pain in the butt to get off sometimes, especially when I'm done cranking it and I have to get it off. And if you're trying to reload to shoot a deer, it's just not going to happen. If you need to shoot that many times, you might as well just go back to compound bow, because crossbow is deadly accurate and you better make your shot count. And if you can't, then you probably shouldn't be hunting. So last shot, let's go. Now, I really don't want to spine an arrow, and that was Eric's concern last time. But he thought it'd be pretty cool if we could. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to aim for my arrow that's on the heart. And he's going to freak out if I actually hit it. Nope. That one was definitely low. I can definitely see that was low. Alright. We'll go out and see what our arrows did. Alright, so we got all 3 arrows fired off. Not quite as nice of a grouping as I would like. It is a little different using the rest. I could always try just holding it in the air and shooting that way too. But hey, if you're still on target in the kill zone area, that's all that matters. Because if you're shooting a deer in the butt, again, don't go hunting. You can't shoot them in the kill zone on the... Alright, we're coming out here to go check on my shots. Get the crossbow loaded back up in the backpack and back into the side-by-side. And now the sun's coming out. This is not using a lead sled, this is shooting directly from my blind. Not a bad grouping. Ooh, I got one straight through the heart. That was my second shot. My first shot was probably my worst, which is the bottom down there by the leg. And if I can zoom in. So, not bad, they're within 4 inches of each other, a nice little triangle. But I like that second shot. Man, that was a perfect shot. That'd be a dropper right there. The other two, definitely a little bit low. So, there you go. What you think about that? But I definitely like that heart shot. You're going down, Eric. You're going down.